Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone. I have big news to start the show today, Callow.
Oh, okay.
So my wife goes to New York to have a girls' weekend. I think it was somebody's birthday. I don't remember why she went. She just went. I don't ask a lot of questions, And at this time of year, I'm in an information silo. If it's not about the Commanders or the Spirit this week, I kind of just can't keep up with all of it. So I'm a little delinquent with full information. But also, she's just going. So, like, go ahead, have fun, because I had the weekend off, obviously. So she took off. I get a picture. It's the woman who did the "Hey Babies" line that she just ran into. So this started a back and forth where she's telling Sheila her name. She goes, "Do you know that every day my husband says the thing you used to say in college to people?" And she's like, "No." I had to take a picture of the koozie, send a
Oh,
picture of
yeah.
the koozie.
Uh-huh.
If you don't know what I'm talking about with the koozie, here's the koozie. Okay. I still have some of these I should probably give away to people. Um, so then the ex-boyfriend of Sheila, I contact him to say, "You're not going to believe it. We've had a Sheila sighting. He hasn't seen her. He dated her. He was my fraternity brother back in college." And he sent the picture. He's, "Oh my God, that's amazing." He writes back, "Can you take a picture of her body for me?"
Oh,
Like,
God.
no, I can't do that. Can't do that. But it was a big weekend. Huge news weekend in my world.
All right, so I will say this because I do page through the YouTube comments sometimes, not the last couple weeks because of what's going on, but there are people in the comments that, one, think what you're doing there to start every show is creepy and they fast forward through it. And two, though,
True.
I have seen responses that have been like, you gotta be an OG fan of the show.
Yeah.
So I do feel like you owe a little bit of an explanation. Like, I know you did most of it there, but I feel like just to get the audience that has
Sure.
came over from YouTube of how this started, because I kind of liked you not explaining it and just having people be creeped out. But now that we do have a connection back to Sheila again, I feel like
Okay.
you need to just give the 60-second. That's why you open the show that way.
Fine. One, you will not see a picture of her. Two, like, I have it now, but you won't see a picture of her. So there's two reasons, and one is this. It used to be laughable that when I started a show, I didn't know how to start it ever. I just didn't know how to do
Correct.
it. I don't know why. I'd be fine 30 seconds in, but I would just fumble through my thoughts and not have anything to say. And I learned that I have to do something just to get going when I do this. And it became this. Okay. I don't know why it became this. And I have no good reason why it became this. But when I was in college, there was my friend Mike who dated Sheila. Sheila was a beautiful woman. And Sheila would walk by literally everybody. And if she knew you, she would go, "Hey, babies." And when I tell you that this was the best part of every man's day, okay, back at American University in the early 1990s, I'm just not exaggerating whatsoever. That if she did walk by you and didn't say that, it was very upsetting. And there was clearly something wrong with you. But her going, "Hey, babies," to you was like, it became a thing of people went to areas that they knew they would pass by her to hear her say that to you. And so that's where that came from. And I don't know why we keep doing it, but for years and years and years, like every other group of people who have an inside joke, this has been a 30-year-long inside joke that whenever we see each other, we walk by and we go, "Hey, babies," to one another. And then it became this, like, most of my friends didn't know I was doing this. The ones who don't live here didn't know I was doing this. I started sending them these koozies and all this stuff because we made this. So that's the reason why that happens. Is it creepy? Yeah. Is it really a weird way to start a show? Yes. 100% guilty. Guilty as charged. But I can't, for some reason, get my brain working when I start these things unless I do something to trigger it. And that is now, I can't do this show without saying that. So you're going to have to live with it.
It's like your tick. to start the show. That's
Yes.
what it is. Yeah. I just want to correct you.
Oddly, when I do the games, I don't have something like that. Like I don't need to yell something odd when I start, the broadcast of the games.
Well, yeah, because you're just setting a scene that's in front of you. There's no scene for your show. So
I know, but you would think, for this, I get you, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, so we saw Sheila. And for those of you on YouTube who are new to the whole thing and think that's weird, you're right. It is. Right? Like, it is weird. I know it's weird. I'm weird. I know I'm weird. Like, don't think I don't know that. Of course I know that.
Just want to correct you. You used the word we. I've never done it. Just want to say that. It's all you. It's 100% you. I've never taken the liberty on that. You take full credit.
You want to distance yourself from it. It's fine. It's totally fine.
I don't want to get closer to it. I think that's all.
It's weird. It's weird. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why, but I don't know. So it's like, it's been an inside joke that's gone too far. It's one of those things.
I mean, you have Hey Babies, and then back in the day, Mike Wise had shouting "Good afternoon, Washington" at the top of his lungs. I mean, we all have our weird things, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, when the Hoyas win, Shavatkin loses his cookies.
Right. Okay? We love
got their things.
We love it.
We love it. Okay. There you go. There's the short explanation of that. Let's see. Yesterday, run of bad results for the old Commanders yesterday. We had a lot of little ones that could have gone different ways yesterday that unfortunately did not. And so last week or the last couple of weeks, we had a couple good runs of, I know we lost, but go look around and see what's happening around them. The door is still kicked wide open for them to bare minimum make a wild card run. And I'm not done saying they can't win the division. I still think they can. They get to play Philadelphia again. Philadelphia's schedule is on its face harder than what Washington's is coming down the stretch. So we got 4 or 6 at home here, many of which are against under 500 teams. So the door's going to be wide open for them to when they get to Philadelphia again in about a month or whatever it is, that they're going to have a shot, because I got a hard time buying that the Eagles are going to win both the Steelers and Ravens games that they have to play, and one of them's on the road. So if Washington can win these next 2, get to the bye, that New Orleans game's feeling a little different now that they changed that coach. But let's optimistically they get through that. They're going to get Philadelphia again, hopefully just one loss behind them, and then they'll have an opportunity in front of them. But yesterday in general wasn't great for the Commanders in terms of the wild card stuff, because if the Eagles do end up winning the division, and they are winning here away from basically doing that, this is going to be the date you're going to look back and go, okay, that wasn't good, because there were a number of them that could have gone different ways and did not.
No, 100%. And the one that actually concerns me the most is these stupid Falcons these days. Like, the Falcons are the ones that look so bad that all of a sudden it's not really about them. It's going to relight Tampa. Like, Tampa was another loss away from pretty much probably, ending their season, or at least getting to that point in the season where they're just going to go through the motions. And the Falcons are the ones leaving the door open for them. And that's the one that concerns me the most out of all of them. And then all of a sudden, that Falcons game is going to mean something with 3 weeks left in the season, because we were kind of counting on that not meaning something.
They are indeed window dressing. I called this early. They are. And I called this one on Friday. I go, Sean Payton's going to whoop that butt. I already know it. Bo Nix had 4 touchdowns. So because Jaden hasn't been lighting the world on fire the last couple of weeks, all of a sudden there is a question of who the rookie of the year is ultimately going to be. And he's going to place himself for real in that conversation if the Washington offense doesn't turn back around. It doesn't have to be what it was, which was like number 3 in the NFL, but it's got to be way more effective than it's been the last couple of weeks. And it needs to trend back in the other direction for this to be kind of a locked, done deal. The other person who should be up for rookie of the year is Brock Bowers. Like, I don't know why he's not getting more pub for that. I guess it's just that he's on a really bad team and no one's seeing a lot of their games. But to be fair, go look at his numbers. They're outrageous, like outrageous numbers for a tight end. They're like best year of Travis Kelce's career numbers for a rookie tight end. But because he's on a bad team, nobody's talking about it. I'm still team Jaden here, and I think he's going to end up getting it. But it's going to have to be better than it's been. And our team's getting profiled more than Denver or the Raiders are. So if Jaden doesn't look his best or great in some of those games, then it might flip the other way. I'm not surprised that Denver won that game. Falcons, to me, are fraud alert. Like, they have a lot of very good players, and Kirk's got moments in him for sure. But I look at them on defense and I don't see it. So I guess, I'll eat my words when we play them in a month and a half if it goes the wrong way. But we'll see with them. And I'm not surprised that one went that way. And I agree with you. I just want them to win the division because they're not part of the conversation if they go and win the division. But if this gets all jumbled and all of a sudden the Saints think they have life because the Falcons aren't running away with it, or the Buccaneers, who ultimately, even though lost to them twice, might win the division anyway because they can't close, that's bad business for everybody, including us.
No, 100%. And by the way, I'm not surprised they lost in Denver. Like, Denver's been decent this year. Like, I think Peyton has done a good job. I think Bo Nix has looked good to great at times, and especially yesterday. I didn't think they were going to get killed like that on the road. Like, that's where the concern is there. Like, going to Denver, even when they're bad, is still a difficult road trip for some teams. The fact that they were just demolished by them is where I'm concerned. And like I said, it's giving everyone else life, which is a problem for us down the stretch, essentially.
Yep. We got Eberflus. Let's see. Boy, now I'm like, that was ridiculous that they lost that game. Like, they changed the offensive coordinator. They were getting the ball out of Caleb's hands immediately.
He's running.
They were honestly the better team for most of the game.
Yep.
They still have a very good roster, which is why their record, I think, is infuriating to them. They had a couple of interesting time management things that went along as we went along there. And then, I don't know, block kick at the end of a game. That's just unlucky, guys. I mean, that really just is. And it's another one that goes, we all know the Lions are going to win that division. Green Bay losing there would have been really great for the cause, like really great for the cause. But unfortunately, alas, we got Eberflus.
I mean, have you ever seen a team get broken like this by one play? Like, you can pinpoint.
They should have won yesterday, though. Like, I know everyone was saying that they should have won yesterday. Like, they were very competitive and should have won yesterday.
I mean, I'm just saying, though, you could pinpoint that Hail Mary to being the time that it broke their entire season, because now they've lost 4 in a row. That break happens. And please tell me you've seen the viral clip of the child that was watching the end of that game.
No.
Have you? Oh.
No.
It's an all-timer. Like, there is a child, he can't be any more than 4 or 5 years old, watching the game with his dad. And the end of that blocked field goal or the missed field goal happens, and he turns to his dad and is like, "What, we lost?" And his dad just goes, "Yeah, bud, they blocked it." Like, in the most like monotone, "I've been beaten down by this team for 40 years. It's your turn now." And the kid just loses it and cries on the couch. It's the best. Like, it's we've all been through it. We see all of our generations happening with this one kid. It's the best, because the dad is just like, "Yeah, buddy, they blocked it." Like, it's just the most monotone way that it happens.
So I would think that the Bears will go away now for good because they summoned it up.
It's over.
And it still went wrong.
Pack it in, boys. It's over.
Yeah, pack it in, boys. Seattle beat San Francisco late. Is that good? I don't know. Because I think the whole NFC doesn't want anything to do with the 49ers. So them somehow not making the playoffs is a win for everybody. That said, this is another one. I kind of wanted Seattle to be beat down a little bit so that they're kind of done and not involved. Or in this case, the 49ers at the end of the season, if you're any of the teams that are looking up going, we need them to lose. Good luck with that. At least that's what it's been the last 5-6 years. Like, when push comes to shove, if they need to get to 9-8 to get the 7th spot in the playoffs, my money's on them. So I don't know whether this was good or bad. I think it's a little bit of both. This is a little bit of a win-win, but this is another one where I'm kind of like, if in the end they're just going to win the division because that division is down, I would rather them knock out these other teams so they pack it in a little bit earlier. Or at the same time, well, if that's going to send them sideways for the first time in 8 years or whatever it is, okay, great. But I got a feeling this wasn't good because they're not going to go away. I know that about them. They're not going to go away.
No, and once again, I'll call Seattle they're the West Coast version of the Saints. They're a coin flip. I don't know what I'm getting week to week. They're not consistent, and they get a win against San Fran. And I know it's a divisional game, but this was one where I really thought that San Fran was going to kind of lay the beat down because they were going to start ramping up here, and Seattle ends up winning. I don't even know really what to make of this division at this point because every week is totally different. Every week is topsy-turvy. Like you saw the Rams stay alive in New England yesterday, which I think we all kind of predicted, but then they lost to Miami last week. This division is chaos. Like it's the actual version of chaos right now.
The other ones that are not surprises are Minnesota beat Tennessee and the Rams beat the Patriots. Those are bad teams that they beat. Minnesota, again, their offense isn't quite where it was. I'm not surprised that there's been some adjustments to that, but the schedule reads that they played a couple bad teams in a row and they won both of them. So they're getting through. Like this was the time of year where if Washington played different opponents at their state, might have a different result over the last week. But because they happened to be beat up and happened to be fatigued and had this turnaround against Super Bowl contenders, well, it went the wrong way. For the Vikings, when they've hit this kind of ebb in their season, I think they've been lucky with who they got on the schedule at the time, but they won them. So I don't want to take anything away from them. And the Rams, after that Miami game, I was a little shook by them because I thought that they were going to kind of take off again. And then all of a sudden they lost at home. This was it. This was going to be their season. They kind of had to win this game, and they barely did it, but they did it. And these are just two more results that I would have loved it if either one of them went the other way.
Yeah, I think the part of the comfort of losing to like the Ravens and the Steelers has been like, okay, they're AFC opponents. Like, it's okay. Hopefully it doesn't affect the tiebreakers that bad. Now we're seeing all the other NFC opponents beat the other AFC opponents that aren't those teams, of course, but taking care of business in their non-divisional games too.
Okay, so those were the stories for us. Let's get to the big boys. The Lions are the best team in the NFL. Period. It doesn't mean that they're going to win the Super Bowl, but right now, name somebody who's performing better than them on a week-to-week-to-week basis. So last week, they won a game they had no business winning because they had 5 interceptions on the road against a team that I'm told is pretty good, that they were trailing by 16.5 and won anyway, which is, if you can do that, you can do anything. Because in this league, forget it. That doesn't happen anymore. It's just the parity is so close between teams. The fact that they did that was ridiculous. And then they turn around and they have a spread like they haven't had. I saw on Good Morning, it was whatever the NFL Network show is like leading the games. It was their biggest spread as a favorite since the 90s. And they covered it by 1 million. They're killing people. Like they are, when playing well, you can't beat them. And when playing poorly, you're still in trouble against them. You can't kill them. I think it's their year. Like you saw the Chiefs yesterday. I'll get to them in a minute. Like the fact they should not be 9-1. They should be 7-3, something like that. Like the Bills look pretty good, but nobody, this is the Chiefs 5 years ago. Nobody looks like this. And I mean, they've been waiting a generation for it. And I got to tell you, if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, oh God, I'm going to feel. You think you feel bad for the 4-year-old who saw the Bears lose a game to the Packers. If they don't win the Super Bowl this year, I will be shocked because they are not even close right now, the best team in the NFL.
I think I've said this. The heartbreak that I'm not ready for, even though I'm not even a fan of them, is that they play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl and the Chiefs somehow figure it out against them and they get a three-peat against the fan base that all they want is one. That's my nightmare because it's going to be America versus Kansas City if that happens. Everyone's going to be rooting for the Lions. When it comes to them too,
and they should.
Yeah, right, of course. When it comes to the Lions too, I don't know if I've ever seen in the modern NFL a better skill group position than all these guys. Their wide receivers, their running backs, their freaking offensive linemen can run in the offense. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen like just so much talent stacked up. I'm just saying in the modern NFL and have them all be young too.
Well, when Peyton was really good, he had Edgerrin James, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, and I'm missing Marvin Harrison. That's a crazy lineup. When the Rams had the greatest show on turf, they had Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, and Isaac Bruce playing with them. So when the Vikings were really good and their receivers were Chris Carter and Randy Moss. Like that's utterly ridiculous. So I think they have very good player. In fact, I'm not even sure I'd put this group up against those particular groups, but I agree with you. What they have are the buy-in, like the clear buy-in. Gibbs is outstanding. And the fact that they don't have to lean on him exclusively is amazing. Montgomery's just a great fit for them on a team like that. Laporta's a good tight end. Amon-Ra, no one's calling him he's not Justin. We get the same thing with Terry. No one says he's the best receiver in the NFL, but he's very, very good on that team. He's their Terry. That's how I think he's their Terry. But he's not Justin Jefferson or Tyreek Hill. And Williams could be really good. But on that team, they're not relying on him whatsoever. Big player too. It's just a cherry on top. I really think it's their offensive line. No one here wants to credit the offensive coordinator, but he's done a very good job. Very good job.
Yes,
yeah. Ben, don't text me Johnson. He's doing a very good job. I think that they have a very, very, very good team. That's what I think. I saw Zadarius Smith show up in a Rasheed Wallace jersey yesterday. The game, very good call. I'm not rooting for them. I'm rooting for our team. But if in the end they're the one in the Super Bowl, I don't care who they're playing. If it's them in Buffalo, that's a tough one. Boy, that's a really tough one. But because that's possible. That's very, very possible that's the case. That's a tough one for America to sift through. But right now, I would expect old Joshy Josh to make a couple crazy plays. They win. So I think they're the best team in the NFL right now.
No, I agree. I guess what I'm getting at is they have so many B+ skill position players.
Yes.
on all those teams you mentioned, Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne were the ones, and Edgerrin James, when you gave him a chance, was good. And same thing with the Rams. But I'm just saying,
Edgerrin James is a Hall of Fame running back.
Right. No, of course.
Really good.
No, of course.
Yeah.
I think what I'm getting at is just in the modern NFL, you haven't seen it stack up like this for a lot of teams where they've had to, try to get around the salary cap. Goff is still getting paid and they still have all of these dudes. Let's see how it is. And let's see how it is in 2 years, right? We know how this goes.
Right, of course.
So I'm just saying.
The windows are short in the modern NFL. The windows are very short because you have to make choices about paying people. Once you pay the quarterback, it makes you make choices about others. Gibbs, if he keeps doing this in a couple of years, is going to get a Saquon type of contract. Will they give that to them? I don't know. But for now, boy, they're a machine. And a few years ago when we showed that Dan Campbell press conference, I never would have believed it was going to become this at all because that press conference was so utterly ridiculous with I'm going to fight people in a landfill and bite their kneecaps and all that stuff. And boy, did he turn out to be right.
Yep.
And he's another one when you look at him and you go, here's the test. Do you ever see this person holding up the Lombardi trophy? At the time, there was no way I would have said yes. But as time has gone by, that guy just is Detroit. You could just feel it. He fits that area. He fits that underdog mantra, and they're no longer the underdog and really shouldn't be. And I guess Vegas got it right because that spread felt ridiculous, and it ended up not being ridiculous at all. So good for them.
I will say this, though. That is the type of result that if you're old Shad Khan over there, if you were thinking about making a change, giving up 52 to those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I know it's the backup quarterback, but I don't know. I'm just kind of saying that's a good time to wipe the slate clean and try to get your team ready for the last third of the season.
The reporting before the game, Rappaport and Schefter had their changes coming thing. And the second I read that and nobody was defiant about it, you're like, well, this isn't going to go well.
Yeah, right.
Guess they're not sticking it up for old Douglas P down there. So changes coming down there for sure. Maybe they'll try to get Dion. Oh, maybe they will. All right, let me take a quick break. Bram, why don't you show ESPN 630 Sports Capital? All right, welcome back. Let's go through some of the other big boy games. First non-big boy game from Sunday. Raj loses again. What are you going to say on McAfee this week?
Was I not all over this on Friday? Did I not say Colts were going in to win?
They're not trustworthy. Yeah. They're not trustworthy. Everything they do is wrong. It is. Everything they do is wrong. That owner must be losing his cookies. I mean, he's done everything Rodgers asked him to do, and they can't beat Anthony Richardson, who, oh, by the way, the Colts didn't even want to play for 6 weeks, but then realized very quickly, oh, Joe Flacco can't magically make our team a playoff team. We probably should just go back to the guy we drafted. And they did, and they beat them late. Blew a big lead, came back, and beat them late anyway.
I'm going to go with my theory here. It's double. There's a little bit of like, there's another part of it, but I kind of had a theory because the Colts played the Bills last week. I thought it was a strategic benching of Richardson for 2 weeks to say, we're not going to put him out there against Buffalo because that could kill the kid's confidence, right? So they get killed, whatever. But then they do the hockey thing of, oh, we're going to flip this back and you're going to start against the Jets. We're going to give you a shot against a bad team. And then the reports came out yesterday before the game from Schefter saying they basically told Richardson, and you and I talked about this over the years with a bunch of athletes in their 20s, that things were deteriorating with Richardson on like showing up on time, showing up to meetings and being prepared. Basically, for 2 weeks, he worked on all of that. They said he's perfectly fine now, and then they gave him the start. I knew when I heard it was him that he like kind of got back into the lab, so to speak. He was going to be much better yesterday, and the Jets are just going the wrong way. That combination, I knew it was going to be disastrous for them.
So here's the thing that's going to happen over the next 6 weeks, okay? And this is important because I believe that team has very good players on it, like a lot of them, not a few. Yep. A lot of them, especially on defense. The running back, too. The running back's ridiculous. But, like, Garrett Wilson's ridiculous. Any team would want him. Defensively, Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, Quinnen Williams, that guy, Jermaine Johnson. Like, they got big-time, really, really high-end players on that team. Here's what's going to happen now. Throw the organization under the bus. That's coming. Any moment now, because he's not going to take the blame for them losing. And he has a platform to tell everybody, here's where everything went wrong. You know, I didn't ask for Robert Saleh to be fired, but the owner did it anyway. And, you know, all of these things, it's really watch because he's not going to take the blame for any of this. And while that has, in my opinion, no credibility whatsoever, and I think the New York media will be smart enough to call it out and say it has no credibility, it will have enough weight attached to it, considering the Jets haven't won anything in a very long time, that the people in the locker room might believe that. And they're going to go get a new coach, and they're going to start over, and I don't know whether the GM will be there or not. I don't think the GM should be gone because I think some of the things that they've done are not what he's probably intended. It's what the owner did on behalf of the quarterback who had way too much power, but that doesn't matter when it comes down to the messaging. So in that locker room, does he muddy the waters so much that the good players want out? See, that's what you need to watch for now, because if there is a we need to get out of here mentality, that's going to be very interesting. And if I'm Adam Peters, that is ground zero, considering how much cap room we have to go look at them and look at that team and go, who are you moving on from? Who doesn't want to be there so bad? Do you not like Sauce Gardner? Do you not like DJ Reed? Do you not like Quinnen Williams anymore? Do they not want to be there anymore? Because I think everybody, it's going to be a vultures flying over that, watching this, and it will matter how many of those guys go, you know what? I'm here for good. And how many of them go, I need to get out of here. So that place is going to go cuckoo birds. And I'm excited. And if I'm Adam Peters, I'm real excited about those phone calls with whoever's in charge after Raj buries the organization for the failures that have happened, because he's going to. Like, there's no way he's not. He's not going to take the blame for it. He's going to blame them. How many players believe that, whether it's true or not, and decide they got to get out of there? And if that happens, there are 5 to 10 Pro Bowlers on that team that are all young. I'm interested. I'm interested in many of them. Who doesn't want to be there? And how bad does that roster crater after this season? It's going to be something to watch.
It's also just arguable. Like, I know people don't like to tear down a team in the NFL, and good players are good players. But that is a team that is in desperate need of one, getting a young quarterback that is good, whoever that is. I don't know who that is going to be at the top of the draft or how far up in the draft they're going to be picking. But all of the players you just mentioned will net you a first round pick and then some. Like, it's going to give you the ammo to move around that draft. Like, it is arguable that if you actually do need to hit the reset button on the culture, and I'm not saying trade everybody, like, I don't think you trade a player like Sauce Gardner. But if somebody comes around for 3 first-round picks because they need a number one corner and they're going to pay him, you have to listen to that, I think. I'm with you. I think there's like too many of them there. I don't think you trade good players just to trade them, though. There needs to be a plan. And what's that plan? I don't know, because that owner is now starting to go into the crazy territory of old Dan Snyder, essentially, because all the moves he's making are not good. So I don't even know what the direction is if they do end up doing something like that.
So that's a team that's got a lot of swag. Do they need Dion? Do they need Dion to show up, for him to go to them? Don't go nowhere. We're going to be fine. I'm going to bring my son in here. We're going to have a high enough pick to do it. He's going to dictate where Shedeur goes. Like, that's already obvious and clear what's going to happen. But if you walk into a situation like that and you could flip around the mentality of the players, they're good. There's no argument that they have. That's what's disappointing about it. There's no argument that they have really good players. They do. The question is, at what juncture are those good players going to go, we're out of here? And Rodgers is going to muddy it bad because he's not going to allow this to affect his reputation. I'm too good for that to have happened. So that's going to happen. And I'm convinced he's going to stop playing soon, like on their team. Whether he plays somewhere else next year is a whole other thing. But like, he's not going to watch. There will be some magical reason why he's not playing very, very, very soon down the stretch.
No, I mean, that's the other thing with him too. You know, Schefter, when Saleh got fired, Schefter had this nugget, and he said it on ESPN multiple times of like, they want to try to turn this around if this is Rodgers' last year playing. He kept throwing this out that it might be his retirement, but nobody was reporting on it. And all I could think of was, if this goes sideways, Rodgers is too egotistical. He's going to want to give it one more shot somewhere else.
Yes.
Like, get the bad taste out of his mouth of this team. Like, he doesn't want his last play in the NFL to be in a Jets uniform on a crappy Jets team. Like, I know this guy too well. He's going to want to go somewhere else to give it the old college try somewhere else.
Oh, and the all-time what goes around comes around. Remember the lose my number Adam Schefter? Watch who's going to want his number back when he starts planting all the things that he wants to do. Watch. Right, that doesn't happen on McAfee face-to-face. That happens behind the scenes. So Schefter will get his third burner phone, and he'll be getting texts from old A-Raj trying to tell him where he wants to go next year.
Either he doesn't go somewhere, or he comes here to Washington to join, Kennedy's part of the administration there for all of. Yeah, see, I saw you shaking your head there. You didn't let me finish. He's gonna join, to do all that health stuff of getting rid of all the bad stuff, when it comes down to America's food. That seems right up Rodgers' alley. So I'm just saying, could come to Washington, not on the football team.
He will not be at the Wale concert with Mark Iron and Jaden Daniels.
That's correct. Yes,
guys.
Correct.
No. Steelers win with 6 field goals yesterday, beat the Ravens. Listen, I've seen both in person. I saw the Steelers recently. They don't ask a lot of Russ. In the end, I don't know whether there's enough there in the big high leverage games, especially if they're not in Pittsburgh, but I guess they're now trending towards that. I don't know. Like, if the Chiefs get their offense going, which I believe they will, and if Buffalo keeps going like this, in the end, can they score enough if they don't control the pace of play? Because they're not asking Russ to do a lot. That said, he's not doing very much to hurt them. And their defense, of all those teams we've said, it's the best of them. So they're legitimate. That win yesterday means something. They are going to play the Ravens again in a couple of weeks. So, and this is now just a 2-team race in that division where it goes. but they may have too big of a spread to be caught now, even if they lose that Ravens game. And that means that they're a division winner with a home playoff game and maybe more considering their record, which makes them, with that defense, very dangerous.
No, I think this is, I know we talk about like MVPs and best teams in the NFL. I think the most impressive thing has been this wall-to-wall run for the Steelers. They've been in the division lead the entire season. They took care of the one team nipping at their heels in the division, and they have to play them one more time. But they also did it amid having two quarterbacks that no one really believed would be amazing either. And Tomlin going rogue and saying, I want to start Russell Wilson, with everyone else in the building saying, I don't know about that one. And then they actually
called that one weeks ago. I go, they're going to have to start him to find out who is the right guy for the stretch run. He's the right guy. I'm still waiting for them to incorporate Fields in some way. Right?
They did yesterday. They did it for like a play yesterday. And that's where I think I was like, like it's starting now. And they waited to do it against the Ravens. Kind of smart. Like they waited to do it against a divisional opponent there. And I just think I'm with you. They needed to see. But you know how difficult that is when you are winning games, that you make that change because you have to find out. It's harder to do it when you're winning and you're leading a division, and to do it yourself too. Like, remember the reports all that week were like, this is all Tomlin. It was all people distancing themselves from that decision, and he ended up being right. I give them a lot of credit for how their season has gone.
Are the Chargers for real? They are. And I know everybody hates Harbaugh, but he's a really good coach. Clearly, clearly, you want to talk about like skill position groups. I think they're like average across the board, with the exception of Herbert's very good. Running backs are good, not great. The receivers, they have a young, first round pick, but the rest of it is no one's scared of it. They've built on the offensive line, which is good enough. Their defense is fine, but they're winning. They're sound. They're winning. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't hurt themselves. Unlike years past, that game last night would have gone against them. Always has, always will. Didn't. I don't know about for real, but they're a playoff team. And because it's Harbaugh and they have a quarterback who can make plays, you're not going to want to see them. You're not going to want to see them in the playoffs, but it doesn't feel like it's their time. Either the Ravens, the Steelers, the Bills, the Chiefs, I think any of them will take them out, but you don't want to play them. And if you were not unlike what's happening here, the reset, if you're a Chargers fan, you're pumped about this, because you thought it was a wing and a prayer going back to Harbaugh. He clearly can still coach on this level. And if this is year one again, it's a really good sign of what's coming out there.
The other part too is that the most important part, I would say, is that he seems to be a good match with Herbert too. Like, he messes with him on the sideline in the best way. He's giving him like the chest shoves on the sideline. Herbert's been pretty calm his whole career. He's had a little personality, but nothing too crazy. You're starting to see him bring out the best of him, which is, if you're a Chargers fan, that's what you want. I'm with you. Like, I think he's a dweeb, but he can coach football, and I can't deny that. Harbaugh is what Nick Sirianni wants to be, I think. But everyone sees it through Sirianni, and they're like, just be the manager, bro. Like, we're good. We don't need you in the room. Harbaugh's the opposite. I think these guys love him.
Whoever did the McAfee bit of Coach Sirianni speaking about the Eagles on Friday in front of Nick Sirianni, that was one of the funniest bits I've seen.
So good.
It is so good. And when you try to be funny in sports, it rarely lands. This was incredible, incredibly hilarious. And Nick Sirianni was just sitting there trying not to write spit, take, laugh, listening to this guy explain to the world why he knows what he's doing when everyone thinks he doesn't know what he's doing. Right. It was really, 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 really amazing. All right, last one from yesterday. The Chiefs are no longer undefeated. Listen, this is probably 1-2 again between these two at some point in time. They're going to play each other probably in the playoffs. I think Kansas City's offense just isn't there. It hasn't been there all year. I don't know why. I don't know. They have a good offensive line, maybe a void at left tackle, but they have a good offensive line. They've never needed great running backs. The running backs they always have are good enough, it seems. I think there's enough on the outside now that Hopkins is there. Kelsey disappeared again yesterday for some reason. I don't know. They're off, but they're 9-1 off. They're clearly going to win the division anyway. They're clearly going to be in the playoffs, and I put nothing past Mahomes ever. You know, even when they were down 2 scores with 2 minutes left, everyone's going, the game's not over. Like, you're right. It's not with him. So I don't know exactly what this means other than I guess Buffalo feels okay for now that they beat them.
I think it was at least that Buffalo has learned from their past mistakes and went for the kill shot at the end. I think that was probably the most important takeaway here, that it was not unlike with the Commanders on Thursday. It was a 4th and 2. They could have taken the points, but they didn't want to give the ball back to the Chiefs. And all Josh Allen does on a 4th and 2 is have a 20-yard touchdown run and deliver the dagger. And so I'll give them that like they are learning from their past mistakes a little bit here, and they were able to hold on. But Bills fans even know, we don't talk to us until we do this in the playoffs, because we all know it's just a different game, literally, when it comes down to it.
I will revisit the Commanders tomorrow. I did do a total film review, and I just didn't feel like it today. So I'll do that. I'll do that tomorrow, especially after I talk to London Fletcher when I do the booth review later today. You'll hear a segment of that tomorrow. Let me take a quick break. Bram, watch the show. He's been 6:30, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. We had what I mean, I've been so lucky calling matches for the Commanders and the Spirit this year. The Commanders have had a remarkable first year under Dan Quinn. I know everyone's all sad about the last week. I think the season is far from over, and it's going to flip back around. We had a Hail Mary. We had that Cincinnati game. We've had a couple blowouts. Jaden's looked amazing. I mean, like, give me a break. Like, all-time, lifetime moments. No 4-year-olds are crying with their dads over what they've seen earlier this year. The Spirit, what they did on Saturday, they've done this like 5 times this year. We've seen this in person like 5 times. But when you do it in the semifinal of a league championship, that was, I will never forget that. That scene there was just truly amazing. And I can't, I've seen a hit goalkeeper save 3 penalty kicks in a row. I've never seen that before. That was utterly ridiculous. Aubrey Kingsbury, okay, you had to be there to see this. So first they tie the match with Gotham, who, by the way, hadn't lost a single match where they scored first the whole year. Hadn't lost in 2.5 months to anybody, okay? They hadn't lost to anybody. Get up 1-0. Gets to stoppage time, okay? Stoppage time. This has happened 4 times with the Spirit this year. They score. They find a way. They score. Place goes berserk, all right? Berserk. They get to extra time. Extra time, Gotham gets a red card. They're playing a man down for 25 of the 30 minutes. Somehow the Spirit can't score and actually almost get beat. In fact, Gotham, better of the chances throughout all of it, gets the penalty kicks. And when it got there, I had a really bad feeling because I'm like, they just survived man down 25 minutes. 1 goal beat you. Didn't happen. And they get the penalty kicks and Spirit score first and Kingsbury walks out. And I'm telling you, this was full on GOAT stuff. Like, she's waving her towel, rallying up the side of the crowd. Like, she knew. It's wild. You had to see it to believe it. Steps in there, makes a save. Incredible. She made a save on a penalty kick. She did it 2 more times in a row. It was like she was a mind reader. That was one of the most outrageous things I've ever seen in my life.
Not only that, after each save, she got up and just started jawing. I mean, that's what I loved too. Like, she was yelling at the Gotham players, like, that's all you've got? Like, that's what you're going to do?
It's incredible.
I've never seen any goalkeeper act the way that she did, but it was well-deserved too. Like, she was getting that crowd fired up behind them. It was one of the craziest sports scenes I've ever seen in person. And one observation I want to make here is if you looked at the players when they were lined up, you saw the Spirit players all locked in, arms over shoulders, hands around the waist, all like grouped in together. And you looked over at Gotham and they were just standing there. And I don't know, like, what is indicative of that? Was it the crowd was so loud that like they were a little intimidated? Was it the Spirit are a little bit closer as a team, chemistry wise, whatever? But when I was kind of seeing that too, I don't know if one team just wants this more than the other, but I do know one team looks like the team that is about to win this game, and it was them. And to just do it in 3 chances and block all 3 shots was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
They're going to play, it's 1-2, so it's chalk for the championship Saturday in Kansas City. They're going to play Orlando, who hadn't lost a match until like 3 weeks ago. The whole year, they've got this woman, Barbara Banda, who's ridiculous up front. And Marta, who's her, yeah, go watch this goal she scored yesterday, where she literally walked through 5 or 6 different players on Kansas City, made 2 of them look like fools in their own penalty box, made the goaltender, it was cartoonish, and she scored ridiculous. A goal. It was ridiculous. So, but I put nothing past the Spirit. This is heart of a champion stuff. This is going to be amazing. And they're playing, and we get to call it. It'll be great. We're going to call it Saturday night, 8:00. Kickoff. It's going to be a neutral site field. The game is in Kansas City. Kansas City Current were in the semifinal. They lost yesterday. So neutral site field for the Spirit and Orlando this weekend. And I can't wait. It's going to be great. Really great.
No, it'll be fantastic. And like, this is the type of stuff where like you look at the Nats run a couple years ago where they were winning in every, or they were losing in every elimination game. They were coming back and winning. And all this is it's a little bit of the same thing. They've been down in every game, come back in stoppage time in the playoffs. And now they face the number 1 team in the entire league who has been the juggernaut from beginning to end. It's going to be scenes, as they would say.
Real quick. Ovi gets a hat trick. Caps keep rolling. They beat Vegas last night. They beat Colorado the other night. They blew one to Toronto the other night. Carberry called that embarrassing. And then they turn around and go on a West Coast trip and brushed it off, and they're still scoring at crazy clips. It's crazy.
You want to hear the turnaround moment of probably the year is in Colorado. If you remember, Nathan McKinnon last year scored not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 goals against them last season. Like they were having these really ugly moments with the really good players. On Friday night in Colorado, on the road, tough place to play, Nathan McKinnon, 0 shots on net. He had 0 shots on goal, did not register a shot on goal. It was the best defensive effort maybe of the Caps' entire season. And then last night, a place where it's really funny stat going into last night, the Capitals had not won a regular season game in Vegas. In the 7 years that they've been around, or 7 seasons they've been around, they have not won there in the regular season. They, of course, won when it counted in 2018. They get their first win last night. And Ovechkin, I'm telling you, he leads the league in goals right now. Like, he's 39 years old. The stats we're starting to see from him are ridiculous. The one I saw last night, he has 10 goals. I think it's 10 goals in 11 games. He's the only player age 39 and older to do that in this sport. Like, that's ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous with him. And I think I saw Barry Svrluga's tweet where he was like, I don't know, the Caps might want to think about locking this Ovechkin guy up because there's only a year left on his contract after next year. And I'm like, Barry might be right. Like, he's on his way. Did you know the pace he's on right now is to score 60 goals, over 60 goals. Like, I don't think that pace is going to keep, but the fact that we're even talking about it is so utterly ridiculous. So it's been amazing to watch him this season so far.
Last thing, I'm going to spend 10 seconds on this. You idiots. This guy's a genius. Jake Paul's a genius. Stop telling me about, the fight didn't live up to it. The guy was 58. He was fighting. You all watched it. Everybody's stream went busted because it broke the freaking internet. It broke their streaming service. He is the face of boxing. I don't know much about the dude. I haven't followed the guy's career. I was as pulled in as everybody else in the world was, and I did not feel dissatisfied after watching that whole thing. And whoever those 2 women were that fought before that fight, they're psychos. Okay, they're full-on psychos. So if you didn't get your entertainment out, showed up and showed his bare butt to the world or whatever else happened, sorry, guys. Like, if you didn't know that was a massive stunt going in, you're a rube and an idiot. I knew exactly what I signed up for, and honestly, I enjoyed every second of it. Outside of Netflix couldn't handle the volume of people that were watching at the same time, which is the one thing I'm upset about. And that I'm not at him about it. He set up the best boxing event in years, and it wasn't even close. So all you ninnies who had a problem with it because the Tyson Paul fight didn't, quote, live up to your expectation, are you idiots? Like, what did you think you were signing up for? That's not him 30 years ago. What did you think you were signing up for? Did you think Jake Paul was going to embarrass him? Of course he wasn't going to do that. Sorry, it was perfect.
People like to call wrestling fans idiots. We saw this one from a mile away. We know a card when we see it. And so there was also rumors coming out before the match oh, they might finish this at WrestleMania. I'm like, yeah, of course. Of course that's what's going to happen. So I'm not shocked. Those two women, by the way, they're real friends in real life. So like one of them fired off a tweet of like, of course she tried to headbutt me. That's her best asset or something like that. Like they were basically saying like they are friends. So I mean, I'm sure the circle is small, but that's what cracked me up too.
I'm going to talk more about the Jake Paul thing tomorrow. We'll do that then. Brave watch the show. He's at 6:30 Sports Capital.